Sam Westrop argues that Islamophobia is not a legitimate descriptor of anti-Muslim bigotry, but rather a deliberately manufactured political weapon, a thought crime category created by Islamist movements and their leftist progressive allies to silence all criticism of Islam, stifle secularism, and ultimately dismantle Western liberal democracy from within. He posits that its ultimate goal is to establish a totalitarian cultural framework where Islamic doctrine and Islamist political objectives become immune to critique. Historical fabrication. Westrop contends that Islamophobia as a term and concept was strategically invented and promoted starting in the 1990s by organizations with direct ties to the Muslim Brotherhood. Example, the International Institute of Islamic Thought, the Organization of Islamic Cooperation, and state actors like Saudi Arabia and Iran. Linguistic warfare. The term is designed to medicalize and pathologize dissent. By labeling criticism a phobia, it frames the critic as irrational, sick, or bigoted, shutting down debate before it begins. It shifts the discussion from the content of the critique to the presumed pathology of the critic. 2. The thought crime mechanism. Secularism as bigotry. The book demonstrates how the accusation of Islamophobia is used to redefine classical liberal principles as hateful. Advocacy for secular public spaces, gender equality, LGBTQ+ rights, or free speech, especially satire of religion, is routinely branded as anti-Muslim, thereby aligning liberal values with racism. Criminalization of inquiry. Westrop provides case studies where academic research into Islamic texts or Islamist networks is denounced. Counterterrorism analysts are smeared and lose funding or positions. Ex-Muslims and reformist Muslims are labeled native informants and isolated. The precedent of blasphemy. He draws a direct line from traditional Islamic blasphemy laws to the modern Islamophobia framework. Both serve the same function, to make a set of ideas, Islamic doctrines, legally or socially untouchable. 3. The unholy alliance, Islamists and the illiberal left. This is a central and provocative pillar of the book. Westrop details what he calls the red-green alliance. Tactical convergence. Marxist and postmodern leftists and Islamists find common cause in their shared hatred for Western liberalism, capitalism, and nationalism. The left provides the anti-racist and decolonial vocabulary. The Islamists provide the religious justification and grassroots mobilization. Mutual exploitation. The book documents how foreign funding, particularly from the Gulf states, flows into Western universities, think tanks, and NGOs, creating a network of influence that promotes the Islamophobia narrative and marginalizes dissenting voices. 4. The real-world consequences, the totalitarian future. Westrop warns that the success of this project leads to a soft totalitarianism. Erosion of free speech. Self-censorship becomes the norm. Media, publishers, and platforms avoid topics related to Islam for fear of career-ending accusations. Corruption of anti-racism. Genuine anti-racism, which should protect people from discrimination based on immutable characteristics, is corrupted to protect ideas from criticism. This, he argues, ultimately harms minority communities by shielding regressive elements within them. Empowerment of theocrats. The most illiberal, anti-integrationist voices within Muslim communities are elevated as authentic leaders, while reformist, secularist, and feminists within those communities are silenced. Legal creep. The move from social stigma to legal penalty is already underway in some Western nations. Example, hate speech laws used to prosecute critics. The book presents this as a slippery slope toward formalized blasphemy laws. Westrop explicitly rejects the standard liberal framing and makes intentionally jarring claims. 1. Islamophobia is the racism of the fool. He argues that applying a racial framework, racism, to a theological and political ideology, Islam, is a categorical error that serves only to confuse and control discourse. 2. The useful idiot thesis. He casts many Western liberals, academics, and politicians not as defenders of minorities, but as useful idiots in a long-term Islamist project to undermine secular democracy. 3. Equivalence of extremisms. He draws stark parallels between the tactics of the Islamophobia industry and those of totalitarian ideologies of the 20th century, Marxist-Leninism, fascism, all of which sought to control language and punish wrongthink. The betrayal of Muslim dissidents. The book's most morally charged argument is that the Western establishment, by embracing the Islamophobia narrative, has abandoned the bravest Muslims, ex-Muslims, gays, feminists, apostates, to intimidation and isolation, choosing instead to appease religious conservatives. Conclusion: the author's prescription. Westrop does not deny the existence of genuine anti-Muslim hate crimes or bigotry. He argues these should be prosecuted under existing laws for what they are: assault, harassment, or racial or ethnic discrimination. His solution is: abolish the term Islamophobia from public and legal discourse. Reaffirm radical liberalism. Return to a fierce defense of secular public space, absolute free speech, including the right to offend, and equality under a universal law that does not grant group-based privileges. Defund and expose the network of organizations pushing the Islamophobia framework, treating them as political lobbyists, not civil rights advocates. Side with Muslim reformers, not Islamist community leaders. The battle over Islamophobia is not a minor cultural skirmish. It is, for Westrop, an existential war for the soul of Western civilization, a war between those who believe in open inquiry, secular governance, and individual liberty, and those who seek to impose a new form of theological political correctness that will usher in a totalitarian future. The book is a call to ideological arms, demanding that liberals choose their principles over polite consensus.